Hi everyone, welcome. We are trying again, third time's a charm, hopefully. We're here for the guest spotlights. Tonight's guest is Allison Pagano, and I'm super excited to introduce her to you. We've been having a little trouble getting on to the Facebook Live this evening, so as I was mentioning previously, if you're here watching, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. And if we are I'm going to give this another try. And if we are not able to do it this way, then Allison and I will record the interview and I'll post it here as soon as we're done. So, let's see. I see you here, Allison. Hello, welcome. It's not yet giving me an option. Is it giving you an option like to request to come on live or anything like that on your end at the bottom? It's not giving me the option for some reason. Here we are. All right, I see you. I see you. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Here comes
Right.
Allison. Yeah, we did it. we
Wow.
have we have broken and repaired the internet all in one night.
Yeah. Story
All
of my life.
right.
Okay. Breaking.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome. Thank you for being here with me tonight, and thank you for your patience through the technical challenges. Thank you, everyone who's still here watching or who's joining us now. Welcome. All right, in a moment, I'm going to introduce our guest, but to start, I just want to say that I'm really excited to be back. It's been a few weeks since I've done a guest spotlight interview here in the group, and I'm really excited to be starting again, rebooting. I've had some good rest, which has been wonderful. For everyone watching, if this is your first time watching, I just want to remind you that this is interactive. We'll be checking in with the comments as we go, so feel free to ask questions, share aha moments, give us your feedback as we go along. This is for you, and we're really here to engage with anything that's of interest or sort of lighting things up for you. So that's the first thing I want to say. And if you're catching the replay, let us know with the hashtag replay that you are here, and so we can, so we can just engage with you that way. So, without further ado, this is my new friend, Allison Pagano. She's the creator of Embodied Dance, and I'm super excited to have her here tonight. As you all know, the guest spotlight is really a space where I bring in people that I believe are a part of this same kind of team, bringing light into the world, the team where we are each choosing our own ways, our own pathways in towards healing, and towards reclaiming, and towards freedom. So, Allison, tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and and your pathway into this freedom.
It's been a lifelong journey. My heat just came on, so let me know if that's loud by any chance.
We're good.
It's been a lifelong journey, and it definitely didn't all come together in one piece. It's definitely been a patchwork of um, growth and healing and expansion and discovery and you know, hardship and all sorts of, just like life in everybody's case. So I want to say embodied dance was something that I discovered
Mm.
accidentally. Maybe it was 20 years ago. I was living in Australia. I've always been a traveler,
Mm.
explorer, curious. And I had the opportunity, I was studying anthropology, and I had the opportunity to do Aboriginal studies and spend a year in Australia. And at that point in my life, I hadn't been dancing that long. I started really late in life. And I was told that I couldn't and I shouldn't, and I'm too old, and there was all these problems with that. And, there was just
Mm.
a lot of harshness that I faced in the
Yeah.
early part of the journey, which is a big part of why I do what I do as well. But the main experience that I had with this time in Australia, I was going through a bit of an eating disorder at the time.
Mm.
And I was really pretty miserable and unable to get out of my own self-imposed, downward spiral that I was in. And I was taking a class with an Aboriginal woman, and it was a class called Spiritual Well-Being at the university, which was like, there's a college class called this. I could take this class. And I was like, sign me up. And I
Yeah.
had really just gotten on my path on that. I think, when I was around 18 or so, 19, I started kind of becoming aware of a lot of things. Um, and this was my first deep dive into meditation, healing experiences, chakras, energy work, and I had not really been exposed to much of that. So I took it upon myself to use this class to delve into, what was happening in my own body. And we had to give a 20-minute presentation for our final grade of our concept of the divine, and I'm 20 years
Mm.
old, so it's pretty intimidating. And our class was held in a dance studio. And,
Mm.
because there was no other room on campus for us. So I said, oh my God, I have to like dance this thing that
Right.
is like creating a monster in me right now. So
Mm.
I spent week after week going in there, and with the information that I was receiving from class about what I had learned in the chakras and understanding where stuff was being held and what it could possibly be having to do with, I started really self-exploring um, some of the pain and the stories and the different things that were just stuck. And I ended up creating like a half choreographed, half improvised piece that I showed the class at the end of the semester. And I nearly like, sprained my ankle doing it because I got so passion filled in it. in the moment. um, but it was the most liberating experience in a way, because I was a person who was also incredibly shy my whole life. I was really afraid of being seen. I was really, not comfortable with myself on many levels. So stepping out and doing this was like a big moment. In my world when a person, because I was previously hiding a lot. So I came out and I did this work, and it was so well received, and the feedback that I got, it just gave me an idea that, this is something. This is like something to work with here. This, dance has been a healing art form since the dawn of time, and
Mm.
we have mostly made it a high art form at this
Mm.
point where we're living on the planet right now. And in making it a high art form, it's really great because we, ask a lot of the physical body and we make all this beautiful work. But at the same point in time, a lot of the training asks us to disconnect from our physical body. It asks us to leave
Mm.
ourselves at the door. It asks us to shape our bodies in different ways and don't worry about the pain. It asks us to, create injuries. And so there was just a lot of things in the dance world that I was fundamentally at odds with, because the healing path for me and the path of understanding the body was always paramount. And I also knew that I'm a dancer, even though um, I wasn't really
Mm.
on that journey from the get-go. I was always dancing
Yeah.
in the backyard when I was a kid. I was just not like, my parents weren't like, hey, we should put her in dance classes.
Right.
Um, so yeah, to kind of answer your question, that was sort of my lead in of, just rediscovering myself and my body and healing through that outlet. And it wasn't like I started doing that and then, ran a business right after that. You
Right.
know, as soon as I came back from Australia, I was being a massage therapist. I was a Reiki master. I was a health coach. I was a personal trainer. I was a Pilates instructor, a yoga instructor. And I kind of like, certified in everything over about 15 years,
Mm.
just trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand as much as I could
Right.
while dancing. And it came a point in time, maybe, 6 or 7 years ago, where I'm like, this stuff really needs to start integrating. And
Mm.
I can't be just jack of all trades, doing this all the time. Like this work needs to funnel into something that's really holistic. And I feel like I'm not meant to pursue anyone else's work. I'm not meant to go five rhythms. I'm not meant to go this, it's like I'm meant to create something. And I felt like there's a birthing that's going to happen. So I just needed to create the space for that.
Mm, yeah. Oh, that's such an
Join.
awesome story and lead in. And I think the amount of courage that it takes for all of those pieces to fall into place. Also, I loved what you had in your bio, like was it Walking Wellness Center? Is that I love
That's why I had like four people call me that, and I was like, oh God, that's really what I did.
I love it. I think that this piece of like coming back to the roots, like as a little girl, you were dancing in the yard. It was like there was a part of you that always knew this piece. This was important. And what a powerful modality to integrate all of that into, because it's like you're accessing all the parts of your body
Mhm.
in the dance. So tell us now a little bit more about, you birthed this new modality. I'm going to call it that. I think that
Mhm.
that's fair. And I would love to like tell us, what is it about it? What is it about embodied dance that makes it unique, that makes it your own, that like how did you manage to weave all of those pieces in together, and what does that look like?
Sure. Well, it used to frustrate the heck out of me because I couldn't really figure out how to do it. And I went to grad school. I want to say back in, I was right before I turned 40, which was pretty epic, and I went in to get my MFA in dance, and that was kind of a big moment for me because I was always told that I, started too late and I would never be or do
Mm.
anything. There's a lot of lovely people out in the
Oh
world
yeah,
who
it
want
sounds
to
it.
squash your dreams, by the way. So, after repeatedly being told, I don't think I actually had one person who was like, "Hey, yeah, you should," you know, it was just really my stubborn Taurian
That's
nature that was,
deep.
kind of hopeless
Definitely.
in not
Mm.
giving up. Um, but so what's different about it is what I've discovered in the healing field, working in energy healing and doing a lot of hands-on work and studying a lot of different modalities, doing yoga since I was 16. Um, Having all of these things really anchor in me. I noticed that for people to really heal long term, you have to work with the whole person. You have to work with the mind,
Mm.
the body, the emotions, the stories, and all of it has to come together in a way that aligns. And that's how true healing happens, and true healing really is lasting because I feel like, in
Right.
my experience, you just work with the physical body, you get one result. You just work with the mind, you get one result. You do some emotional processing, right? So, and they're all valid, but what if we can access our whole selves through a modality? So, what happens if we bring these different healing modalities to dance? And dance already, you have more activity in your brain when you're dancing than when you're doing anything else, right? So, you have the greatest opportunity to create new patterns, new neural pathways, and giving people new experiences of themselves. So it's really about
Mm.
giving people an opportunity for their own empowerment, an opportunity to unravel the stories that aren't theirs, an opportunity to invite in new qualities and to fully express it in the physical body. So using the mind to understand the passion of the emotion and the physical body to move it. Um, and I think that that for me is what's most exciting about it is the potential of what can happen. This is maybe not that exciting, but
I don't
um,
know.
yeah. So, what's the potential of what can happen when a person really allows themselves to go on that journey, when they decide that they're ready to shed their limiting beliefs, when they're ready to start feeling more confident. And I feel like the way that we do one thing is the way that we do everything. So, how do we use dance as a form that helps us reinvent what's possible for ourselves in our lives? How we show up, not just in the in the dance room or in the dance class or in performance. But how do you take that into your workspace? How do you take that into your relationships when you're owning these new parts of you? So I feel like I'm going to be birthing this work until the day that I die, and it's just going to keep coming through me and showing me and teaching me as I'm in it, because I feel like that's the
Yeah.
only way, is like it teaches you. It's like I'm not
Mhm.
big or powerful enough to say I know exactly what this is. Like it's showing me what it is as I'm putting it together and as I'm
Yeah.
working with people in performances and choreography and yeah. So
Yeah. That resonates so much, right? Like for me, I can very much see how this full embodied, this holistic level makes so much sense to me because I think that it's that reclaiming of the wholeness that is almost like the deepest, like the key to the healing, you know? It's, it feels very, very aligned with the work that we do here as well, you know? Have I lost you? Are you frozen? Come back. Oh, we lost her temporarily, but hopefully she'll be back soon. Mm. Yeah, so what I was going to say is just that I love the parallels here. I feel like every time I have a new guest, there's these parallels that come up. And the parallel that I feel happening here is this idea that the work itself is kind of continuing to evolve and to be birthed and to teach us as it comes through. That there's this aspect of, you know, when I began here with Reclaim Your Space, I had this hunch of what it was going to be. I had this kind of nudge of like, I think this is what you're going to teach. And I think this is how you weave in all of the healing work and the deep kind of spiritual aspects with the actual work of working in your physical environment. Um, so it's beautiful to see how that's like continues to evolve, and like only as I was doing the work and getting the feedback was more continuing to come through, and it still keeps evolving. All right, Allison, I see that you are back. You want to give that, do you see that option to request to come on camera again? Let's get you back up here. Something in the air tonight. This tech. Allison, are you able to, do you see a button there? Invitation. Here we go. All right. Here it is. She's coming. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
that was the funniest thing. My phone actually just randomly shut off. It's a
I was
brand
just saying
new
that
phone.
there's
It's a
something in
brand
the
new
air
phone.
tonight.
It's at 90% charge. I'm telling you. Also, I've been breaking technology, I told you, since I was a kid. And apparently I'm like supercharged tonight. So
Big energy moving tonight for sure.
something, yeah, it's
Uh,
probably the collective energy of humanity
so
is
much.
intense.
Yes, it
Um,
is in this moment. So all I was saying just before while you were gone is just that like I this so resonated with me because when I started Reclaim Your Space, I had this hunch about what it was going to be about, but only as I'm teaching and getting everyone's feedback and watching the experiences of people putting it into practice and then bringing that back in, it like keeps evolving and kind of building on itself, and it's such a beautiful process, almost like to the point where I can't quite keep up. I'm like, what is it now? What is it now? Is it something totally different now? Like, what am I
right.
teaching today? And so yeah, I think that's a really, it's a really beautiful kind of parallel. And
Mm.
I would love to hear from your perspective, like, what's your experience been with? Well, let me highlight what you said about in the dance community that there's this like emphasis on actually disconnecting from your body. That's
Mhm.
wild, right? This is like almost like, to me, my mind is blown. Like, how does that even work? And so to like say, I'm going to bring the body back into dance, like seems like just like crazy talk, but I can see exactly what you're saying. And I would love for you to speak more into that and into both your experience of like that disconnection, but then like how do you see that play out and how do you see the reconnecting to our physical body as being a component of that healing process? Steve
Absolutely.
says it's everywhere. Yes, Steve, this energy is everywhere.
It's craziness. Hi, Steve. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Um,
We can say
yeah.
thanks to Steve for introducing.
Thank you. Lots of love to Steve. We love Steve. Steve's an amazing healing musician. Um,
Yes, yes, he is.
um, so Yeah, I mean, to me, it was, I think, because the gift actually of starting dance later was that I got to see that and not be at the mercy of it. I wasn't
Mm,
traumatized the way that a lot of my friends were. I didn't take in the abuse the same way that a lot of people I know in the field did that are like, recovering from that or still holding those negative
right.
things in their body from being told that they're not good enough, they're too fat, they're too something, they're wrong, you're most of the time, especially in the ballet world, you're um, aspiring for a level of perfection that's almost unattainable, inhuman.
Mm,
And you have this beautiful art form that was created in this, likeness of connection to spirit. And I feel like at some point in time, we kind of pulled the soul out of it
mm,
and made it about lines and made it about
mm,
aesthetic. And the connection somehow got lost. And it's not in all teachers, and I don't want to say that by any stretch of the imagination, because there's so many amazing, wonderful teachers who get it, especially, in the last decade, who are really able to speak and teach from that place. But more often than not, it's been a lineage of abuse of
mm.
you're wrong, you're bad, you can't, you shouldn't, and creating um, self-hatred and eating disorders and creating just squashing of life force when dance is the most wonderful thing or one of the most wonderful things you can experience in a human body, right?
Yeah.
So that for me was always like my first class, I was saying this to my friend Andrew yesterday. My first class that I ever walked into was a ballet class, and I was in my late teens at that point, and the woman came in, slammed the door, and started yelling at us how we were never going to be anything. And I had never even done anything. We didn't even start. And I was like, wow. And for me, I'm thinking like, lady, you need to get your shit together. But if I was a 5-year-old experiencing that, I would have had much different. I mean, I would have been traumatized. And the thing is,
Internalized. Yeah.
I saw that over and over again in different scenarios, in different classes, and I would just walk in, I'd be like, huh, this is interesting. I didn't, because, at that point, I also, I had been doing yoga. I had like, these other practices, and I was kind of building these other things. And I'm like, geez, why do people just like hating on each other so much in these classes?
Mm,
And I had my own stuff that I was moving through, as I had mentioned earlier, when I was, going through that eating disorder, which was a separate thing. That was kind of my own healing process. But I saw it over and over again enough, and I talked to enough dancers to know that this is a problem. And why is it that we are in this time knowing what we know and we're continuing to pass on these types of um, there's no reason for it. There's no reason to, you can teach great technique and you can bring the best out of people and never be a jerk. You can, in fact, bring the best out of people and be kind and be sincere and be authentic. And you never have to go to that place to make them a great dancer. So I fully believe that. And I feel like you get more out of people when you are real and authentic with them. And when you allow them to shine in being who they really are and the gifts that they have, instead of trying to
mm,
mold them into something else. So it's really about, and this is why I'm creating this teacher training that I'm launching, because it's been a lifetime of me gathering what I wish I experienced as I first
Mm,
stepped into what I knew my life's path was, and the tools that I wish that I had, and the supportive aspects of energy medicine, of embodied anatomy, of understanding boundaries and creating safe space, and understanding where we hold stories in our bodies and how to access these things. Um, and it's just a shame in a way that for me, I could never really wrap my head around. I'm like, how are we just only talking about the physical body right now and like beating
mm.
ourselves up mercilessly about it? Um, so yeah, it was all of that. I don't know if I've went off too many tangents there, but
No, not at all. But I think like what's like I'm like seeing this like neon sign and it's just like patriarchy, patriarchy. It's like so
it's
clear
hard
to
not to,
me.
once you see it, you can't unsee it, right?
Like, oh my
You can't
God.
unsee it.
No, it's all of that, right? That exact thing of like, how do we fit into this very narrow
Hmm.
concept of what it means to be a dancer, what it means to be perfect, of what it means to have the perfect body, the competition. And like we were talking about offline, like my belief is that the way that we will pull the rug out from underneath patriarchy is to just really shift into a paradigm of collaboration, of like embracing that wholeness, of really like seeing that as others shine, like it
Hmm.
gives us permission to shine and we all
Absolutely.
rise higher together. So I just see this as like such a subversive work that you're doing in like such a field that is just so seeped in this like toxic energy, for so long. So
Right,
like,
right.
holy shit! Like you were saying about like we were talking about Sacred Rebel the other day, right? Like
Hmm.
this is
Yeah,
it. This is the rebellion that you're creating.
yeah.
It's beautiful, really
Yeah,
beautiful.
likewise. And, and to tail into something that you had said also about, like how the work kind of comes in and it teaches us and it shows us. I feel like that is part of the fact that we are birthing it. And I keep doing this
Hmm.
with my hands, like
The birth canal.
we I don't have like, I don't actually have a child, and I feel like this is like my child. And, not only that, but I feel, you don't have to be a woman to birth something new into this realm. You just have to open
Yeah,
to receive it.
yeah,
And, the fact that we've only put stock and value in what's only been tried and true. I mean, you better believe people gave me a lot of crap about doing what I'm doing, from every angle. Like, well, it's either dance therapy or it's dance this, and it's like, well, no, there are other things to consider. There's
yeah,
other things that other possibilities.
yeah. Like, why
And
can't it just be something that's never existed before?
right. Or something that's really ancient and
Yes.
ancestral in our memory of what
Mm,
we
yes.
know that we're supposed to experience, and that
Right.
it's our divine right to express fully through the body. We've just been told that that's not okay,
Yeah.
right? And it's part of the anxiety, depression, you name it. We disconnect from the body, it's going to bring those things on. It's just going to happen.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Mm. Oh my gosh. I would love, if you're open to it, to talk a little bit more about that bringing back like the ancient, the matriarch energy, the feminine divinity, because I know that that is an aspect of what you do. And I think that's a really important piece.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's been sort of new, even though I've felt it kind of always there playing in the background quietly. I do really feel like this is I mean, as we can all see, we're in a time of great change. And none of us, are really experiencing this new world yet, but I do believe there's one on the way. And I do believe it's the people who are birthing it right now, who are holding their visions, who are standing in what they see as possible for humanity, and are really holding that in their hearts. Um, and I think that's a big part of it. It's really, I have Marin, I think I mentioned last night, who's one of my teachers, talks a lot about, living from, we live from the neck up. And
Mm.
the heart was always meant to lead the mind, not the other way around. So I really believe that part of this embodied feminine is coming back into feeling, acknowledging the value of um, our hearts, acknowledging the immense wisdom and connection that's present um, and available to us at any time. We've just taught, we're taught not to go there, we're taught not to value it. And I believe it's kind of a homecoming of something that's always been there, and we
Mm.
just get to drop in, and life becomes this much deeper, richer thing because of it. So I feel like the practice of embodiment is really a practice of just coming back home to ourselves, to our truths, and coming into more sense of acceptance of what is, of what can be, and not letting the mind dictate what it is and what it won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really the difference, and that's what my practice has been probably for the last year and a half or so. And it hasn't been easy. It's actually made me, lose relationships. It's actually made me come up against things that were really, really hard because I was honoring my heart. So it's not like, hey, you drop into your heart and life is just grand. It's a teacher. So make
Mm.
no mistake on that. Um,
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
fully honor and respect that, but I wouldn't choose anything else because at the end of the day or at the end of our lives when we're done with this realm, we're never going to wish that, we thought more and made things harder and complex for ourselves. We're going to wish that we were more of who we actually really are and lived from that place and made authentic connections from that place. That's where we're
Yeah.
all trying to get back to. And a part of us kind of knows that. Like, hey, it's about connection. It's
Mm.
about coming home, um,
Mm.
receiving, being.
Mm. Yeah. A few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago now, I had a guest here, Dr. Valerie Rain. So she wrote about patriarchy stress disorder, and she does a lot of trauma healing work. And one of the signs of trauma is that we disconnect from our body, but also from our natural impulses. We lose touch with those. And so I think I see this work also as being like a very potent form of healing. And what's coming through for me right now is that I've had a few clients actually since
Mm,
starting the work of Reclaim Your Space who, once they've created space, have talked about, use the actual language of having space to dance, to move
mm,
their body, have actually like engaged their body in the physical space that they've created by doing the clearing work. And so it's really interesting how that's just like this spontaneous natural impulse that they've reconnected with
yeah.
as they're doing this work. It's been
Mm,
really beautiful to witness.
wow.
Um, but yeah, just another like thread where I feel like it all is tying in together for me because it's like unlocking these things that have been like taken. It's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, we've been kind of stuffed
Mm.
full of information and
Mm.
nonsense and other people's beliefs and, carrying a lot of wounding and traumas, and a lot of the times they're not even ours.
Yeah.
And, I feel like the process of healing is the process of really, and this I feel like the thing that I'm most excited about, proud of, and in the mystery of is constantly unraveling what's mine, what's someone else's, um, and, discerning what it is that I'm holding and choosing to hold and what it is that I can let go of. And that's part of the rebirthing of who you get to become is first unraveling the stories of who you're not.
Oh, I love that so much. Not like only because it is exactly the work that I'm doing. I would say even as recently as like today, yesterday, this past few days, like at a very deep level, but also because metaphorically, that is clearing the clutter of what is not ours. Like I talk a lot in Reclaim
You
Your
do.
Space about other people's stuff, right? Like get other people's stuff out of your space. They get to deal with their stuff. You get to create your sovereign space. You get to choose and set boundaries and guidelines, and like, and there needs to be that space for you to express, for you to come back home. Um, and of course, the body is our home, right? Like in every way, it just, yeah, it makes complete sense to me. But it's just, I love hearing it reflected and like expressed so articulately and beautifully. And from your experience, from the angle that you're coming at it, that you're having the same experience, and that the people you're working with are as well. It's so beautiful. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
no, I see that with you when we're in your class, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like your home, like, and you say it all the time, like your home is just this extension of you, and it couldn't be more true. And what you
Yeah.
decide to put in there, and what you become unconscious of, that's there.
Right.
That's just taking, energetic, psychic
Yeah.
space from you, whether you want to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more if you would be open to sharing with our viewers here. I loved hearing about what you told me about how you pre-COVID would do these shows
Oh,
where
yeah.
you would get. Can you share a little bit about that? I think that's such a beautiful and unique offering that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of funny in a way because talking about the feminine and stuff, when I first named my work, it was actually Embodied Goddess. It was Embodied Goddess
Mm,
Dance Project that I wanted men also to be part of it. So you
mm.
froze. Can you see me?
You froze as well in a really weird face,
Okay.
but I
I
can
make a
hear
lot
you
of weird
fine.
faces.
So
Um,
it was like mid, it was like mid
it was
transition
like,
between faces. Yeah,
um,
you're back. You're back.
I'm
Right,
back.
we're
I'm
good.
back. I was like, is my phone going to shut off again? That's what it did last time.
Yes.
So yeah, so I wanted all people to be part of it, but yeah, it was really about embodying a new frequency, embodying a new quality. And a lot of dancers that I worked with in shows had never danced before. I attracted all sorts of people in my classes. I had people that never danced before, and then I had people who danced and left because maybe they had bad experiences or they were professionals and then they hadn't done it in a while. And anyway, my class was just this like come as you are space. And, we ended up just working on a few things. I'm like, let's put the show together, and this was like back 5, 6 years ago, whenever it started. Maybe it was 2014. I think it was right when I got back from Hawaii. Um, and the intention with that became after a while, how can we shift the dynamic of this like audience dancer
Mm,
barrier as well? And how can we transform something through our dance and perform it in such a way that there is a connection created when the audience is really experiencing that dancer's truth instead of just something that's put on them?
mm,
And I explored things with working with sound healers, with working with, just different visual components and really pulling dancers' stories out of them and creating what I called personal choreographies um, for the dancers, which was about them going from one part of their life and embracing something new and using the dance as the healing tool to get there and then
mm,
performing that.
mm.
So
Sounds
basically,
so
like a
good.
snippet of what, in the first conversation that we had. So basically, taking them through a process of what I put myself through when I was living in Australia at the time, and I put myself through that process. So taking dancers, individuals, and groups through processes and creating with that intention. And we had a lot of great shows at the Union Arts Center before we got locked out of live performances. And it was always amazing to me because the shows would be sold out and people would have the most amazing feedback of what they discovered. And it's like, I'm not, American Ballet Theater or Alvin Ailey or anything like that, but it was just that the message had come through so much clearer because of the space that we created and what the dancers allowed in. Many of them were performing for the first time.
Amazing. I love this so
So it was
much.
like mind blown,
Yeah.
and it just gave me that rich fulfillment of this is what we're meant for. We're meant to create and share in this authentic capacity, and it heals the audience just as much as it heals the dancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like,
I feel
it's
that.
just
Yeah.
finding ways to like infiltrate the wholeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call them like the ninja moves in like through the back door of our consciousness.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Mm,
in that way, one of the things I've always kind of held true is that, where you create something from is where people, if they're open, can receive it from. So if you create something from the mind, people are usually going to receive it in the mind. You create it from the ego, they're going to be like, wow, that was a lot of flips and tricks. Great, exciting. Forget about
mm,
it. If you create something
right.
from the heart that's
Mm,
really depthful and extremely connected and vital in a human, you're going to reach somebody at the heart, and that's going to shift something in them. So that's the
yeah.
kind of work I'm interested in. And it doesn't all have to be like painfully, pulling stuff out, but how do we just, start accessing more of what's authentically true?
Yeah.
And how do we allow the unraveling of our stories to empower us? And how does the sharing of those stories inspire change and inspire empowerment in others? So, I mean, it's like a
Mm,
big, for me, it's even like mysterious saying it out loud, but that's kind of that's what I hope to achieve.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision. And it sounds like from the experiences that have already been happening, that that's what you're creating. And so thank you so much for sharing about it here with us tonight.
Mhm. Thank you so much for having me. And I'd
Yeah.
love to, sorry that the technology was faulty, but yeah, it's
It happens. It happens. It's
been
all
great
good.
to be here.
Yeah. So before we close up, I would love to just keep a little space here for any last thoughts or anything you'd like to share. And also tell us about there's a class that's opening up that you're doing right now. So Allison's located near me here in northern New Jersey, Rockland County, New York area. But at the moment you're doing things on Zoom. Tell us more about what
Yeah, I'm
that's
doing things on Zoom. I'm teaching a class on Sunday in Nyack actually as well, but it's kind of
Oh,
a
okay.
small closed class because of, these weird times that we're in. And my classes used to be huge and now like, it's like, okay, we cut it off at a certain number and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. But I am having some live classes, but I'm doing most of the work on Zoom. I have free classes that I offer, usually a couple times a month. The next one I have coming up, I'm calling Unravel and Empower Your Dance. And it's really about, it's going to be a movement session of exploring where stories are stuck in the body, finding ways to unravel them, and um, also allowing for new things to be born. So it's kind of creating a space to work on um, not only how like your limiting beliefs are just being stuck in your mind, but where are they being limited in your movement? Um,
Mm,
which also feeds into the teacher training that I'm going to be offering, which is a part of that study. And that's going to be in February of this year, where I'm super excited about that.
that's
It's kind of
awesome.
like, that's the big baby.
Yeah.
That's the real
The
big
real
baby. Is
deal.
it's going to be like a year-long program for
Wow.
dancers and educators who want that level of experience and training. And what's going to be different about that is it's not me teaching you how to teach movement as much as it is
Mm,
about guiding people into their own internal processes and who they are as a teacher and how to bring that out authentically, given
right.
these modalities that are available.
Right.
Um,
Like a deep dive and
it's going to
yeah.
be a deep dive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I talk about that. I have a page on Facebook. It's called Embodied Dance for those on a path of healing through movement. I
Mm.
post a lot more on my Instagram, which is embodied.dance. I'm terrible usually with marketing and social media. I'm trying to get better at it.
Well, be
But
sure to put all the links here in the comments when we're done. Come
mhm.
back in, and anyone who's been watching today, or if you're watching the replay, let us know with the hashtag replay. If this has spoken to you in any way, please check out Allison's work. Give that free class a try. I'm actually doing Allison's 8-week program. Is it 8 weeks, 9-week program?
It's 9 weeks
Which
now. I added
9-week
extra.
program. I love it. And it's been really incredible so far. So it's, yeah, highly recommend. And thank you again, Allison, for being here with me tonight. And
Thank
thank you
you
everyone for
so
watching.
much, so deeply for all that you hold for everybody to show up and for your incredible work and how many, people you are bringing back into their wholeness and their light through your work. So thank you, because it's been just as an inspiring journey being part of all that you do.
Thank you so much. I really
Hmm.
appreciate that. I received that. Thank you. All
Hmm.
right. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you next week for another guest spotlight. Bye.